I am a churchgoer. Some of you are not churchgoers. That's just fine. It doesn't make me a better person than you. But some of us go to church more than the rest of us. You can imagine there's sort of a sliding scale in this room of people who go to church all the time and people who go to church less often. I go to church so often, I even go to church on vacation. When I'm on vacation, I like to find the nearest church. I like to connect with people and see how they're doing. And here's an interesting question I'd like you to consider. For those of you who go to church, I'd like you to ask the question, what would I be like? Who would I be like? How would I be different if I did go to church? I'd like to ask myself that question. How would I be different if I never went to church? How would I have turned out to be a different person? And for those of you who don't go to church, how would you be different? How would your life be different if you did? It's a really interesting thought question. How would your life be different if you did? And if you didn't, how would your life be different? I can imagine my life would be very, very different because my social life is very tied up in the church. And the way I see the world is very tied up in the church. We're going to talk about three things. We're going to talk about labeling. We're going to talk about social fabric. And we're going to talk about belonging. Session 1, which is only just a few minutes long, we're going to be talking about labels and what it has to do with church and what it has to do with being, quote, religious, unquote. Adam in the Bible, the very beginning of the Bible, Genesis 2:18, was given a bunch of animals and he was told, name these animals. And he gave them names. And in your notes, I'd like you to write this down. Names do two things. Number one, they describe things. Names describe things. Number two, names create reality. When we label things, we change reality. The new thing now is on Facebook. For those of you who know what Facebook is, the big thing is to write your relationship status. And when you go from being single to being in a relationship, it goes public to the whole world. And you put a label on the relationship that changes the nature of your relationship. I'm wearing a wedding ring right here. This is a label I put on my relationship with my wife. And labels can create reality, and they can describe reality. Now, there's two kinds of labels. Number one, there's proper names. There's Corey, there's Sarah, Scott, David. My name is David. There's proper names. This is Huntington Beach, that's a proper name. This is the United States of America. This is California, those are proper names. There's also descriptive labels. If you remember English class, those are called adjectives. This is cool, this is hot. This is old, this is new. Those are descriptive labels. I'd like you to look at the name tags of the people around the table, which you just did the name tag game with, the name game with. And we all have names. And most of us, those names were given to us without our permission. Our parents labeled us David, Marty, Linda. They labeled us. They gave us these names. What's really funny with my name is I ran into another David householder, which was really, really strange. I was Googling my own name to find out what people were talking, what they were saying about me. If you ever do that, it's quite a trip. And then I ran into another David householder. I finally found this other David householder online, and he had lunch at our house a while back down on Main Street. He and his wife came over. He's real interested in the same things I'm interested in, which is really pretty creepy. But we both have exactly the same label, spelled the same, David Householder. You can look him up online. And he's interested in missions, interested in Bible just like me, interested in a whole bunch of different things, interested in cross-cultural things like I am, been around the world like I have. But we have the same label, but we're different people. So labels help us a little bit, but they're limited, aren't they? The label you're wearing, it doesn't tell the whole story of who you are. My name tag, your name tag. This church has a name. Robinwood Church. People say, is there some deep meaning to that? Folks, first of all, there's no such thing as Robin Wood. I mean, you can look for all different kinds of wood in the world, and there's no such thing as Robin Wood. That's just the name of this neighborhood. In fact, if you go down Bolsa Chica, there's a street called Robinwood. There's a Robinwood Little League, there used to be a Robinwood School, that's the name of this church. That's the label of the church. But there's a lot more to this church than just the label, because I Googled it, there's 5 other Robinwood churches around the country, all of them in Robinwood neighborhoods all over the place. And those churches, my guess, are very different than this one. So we often put labels, though, on faith families, on denominations, on churches, on different kinds of Christians. Are you a Muslim? Are you a Christian? Are you a Jew? Are you a... What does that even mean? My wife back here has Jewish blood from both sides. She's actually Dutch and doesn't look Middle Eastern at all. And yet there's Jewish blood running from both sides. We could label her and say, well, she's Jewish, but obviously labels have limits, is what I'm saying. And as we label faith families, we need to be careful about that. My name tag, your name tag, proper names, descriptive labels, Adam and Eve, names that describe and create reality. There's something real under the name tag that you're wearing. And there's something real in this faith community underneath the label Robinwood Church. Our church has a name tag. But there's a real community underneath that name tag. So it's discussion time. I'd like you to look at the discussion thing here, and at your table, for 20 minutes, have your group helpers get a big sheet of paper. So go ahead and get that sheet of lined paper, and have one person in charge of taking notes. Keep going around the group, one at a time. So say with Corey. And he'll think of one label, and let's say that you're writing them down, Susan. One label to describe a religion, a denomination, a faith family of some kind. And you'll write it down. Positive or negative. It can be a proper name or an adjective. And keep going around. You can knock the table if you want to pass. You just keep going until all the names get on the sheet of paper. Then what we'd like you to do, denominations, church names, positive, negative connotations. No right or wrong answers. Keep going around until you run out of labels. You can pass if you can't think of one. And then when you're done, have each person pick 1 or 2 things they resonate with on the list, and 1 or 2 things they really don't like on the list. So you can start to kind of define what you resonate towards and what you don't. What labels work for you, which labels don't work for you. So go ahead and do that. And for the next 20 minutes, have one person record and keep going around until you get all the labels you can think of on that sheet of paper. And then we'll have you choose some of those.